Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. Officer Hezer here, IUIC Savannah. Today's class, we're going to go over charity. The class is called Charity, Loving Thy Neighbor Abroad. Loving Thy Neighbor Abroad. As we know, we are all over, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. So today's class is focused on loving those abroad. Because today, here in society, Western society, we have a little bit more than what we need. We have a little bit more than what we need. So let's go ahead and start by, let's get the definition of charity. Definition of charity. All right. All right, read that.
Charity, noun, an organization set up to provide help and raise money for those in need.
Okay, so an organization that's been set up to provide help and to raise funds, money, for those who are lacking, those that are in need. Keep going. Go down.
Definition 2, the voluntary giving of help.
So the volunteering giving of help, like I mentioned, we have here much more than what we need, right? So you have to have, like the scriptures say, that spirit of charity, the volunteering, not being asked all the time, not being told all the time. You have to volunteer. Keep reading.
Typically in the form of money to those in need.
Okay, sometimes it's funds. Keep going.
Help or money given voluntarily to those in need.
Go to 3.
3, kindness and tolerance in judging others.
Okay, so that's other forms of charity, right? Go down, scroll down to right there, Middle English. Read that.
Middle English, earliest as charit, charit, in the sense Christian love of one's fellow.
So to have love of one's fellow. So when you have charity, you have to have some type of love. There's got to be some type of love there. So say, for example, when you love your neighbor, you're going to show charity and be charitable to him, right? If your neighbor's in need and you have an abundance of it, you're going to show charity. So you have to have love for one's fellow, right? Now, we all have seen, Esau, he puts out those certain commercials where it's, what do they call it? Feed the children commercials, right? Where they put those commercials in there. They find the saddest portion or saddest part of wherever they are. You know, it's to pull on the heartstrings of the people. If only you would just put 19 cents a day or 5 cents a day, right? It's not much, right? So these are the things that Esau does amongst their charity to help certain people, certain type of aids that they have or whatever agenda that they have, right? So today this class is to not necessarily pull on the heartstrings, but to show and for us to examine whether we are in the faith of charity, right? Let's go to 1 Corinthians 13. Now, no one else, I'll say this, no one else should understand charity and what it takes to rebuild than us, the repented Israelite, those that are reading the scriptures, those that know what charity really is. We should understand charity more than anyone in the world. We shouldn't be having to be shown it by the other nations, right? We should have it within ourselves. Go to 1 Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 13.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mystery and all knowledge,
right? And
though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains,
right?
And have no charity, I am nothing.
But have not charity, I am nothing. So it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 precepts memorized, if you are the precept king, if you know all the knowledge, it doesn't matter. Any of that doesn't matter if you are not showing charity. I could have 1,001 precepts in my back pocket, but my brother could not barely know anything. But I'm not showing charity and showing them how I learned it, or I'm not giving the knowledge out freely, like leadership does. They give everything out freely. They keep continuing us to feed the sheep of the Lord, right? Go to what was that verse? What verse you read? Verse 2. Read verse 3.
Verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor,
Right.
and though I give my body to be burned,
Right.
and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing.
So it doesn't matter what you do. If you're giving to this people, if you whatever sacrifices you think you made to help people out, but if you don't have charity, all that means nothing. All that means completely nothing to the Lord, right? Go to 1 Peter's.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 8. And above all things, have fervent charity.
Above all things, what are we supposed to have?
Have fervent charity.
We have to have fervent. Look up that word fervent real quick. Look up that word fervent. Because there's a point of why he put fervent there and not just have charity, right? So there's a certain level of charity we're supposed to have amongst each other, right? Read what that is.
Fervent, having or displaying a passionate intensity.
So there's an intense passionate in the amount of charity we're supposed to have. So to have fervent charity, right? Let's look at some of the similar words. Passionate.
Impassionate.
Mm-hmm.
Passionate. Intense.
Intense, read.
Vehement.
Mm-hmm.
Ardent.
All right, some of these words I don't know.
Fervid.
Mm-hmm.
Sincere.
Sincere charity, right? Let's go back to First Peter's.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
And above all things, have fervent charity.
So we should have sincere charity. We should have a passionate charity. We should have an intense, passionate charity towards one another. Read.
Among yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
For charity shall cover the multitude of sins.
Because charity is going to cover some sins. Charity will cover a multitude of sins, right? So above all, we're supposed to take care of each other. There should none of us be lacking. Not at all. Scriptures, there's plenty of scriptures to show that when we were in need, one another pulled each other back up, right? From there, go to, let's see, 1 second. What was that? 1 Peter's? Go to 1 Corinthians 16. Sorry about that.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 16, verse 14. Let all things be done with charity.
So everything that we do, you should be thinking, does the next man have it? Does this brother have it? Because a lot of times, look, we take a lot of things for granted. We may go out, purchase certain things, knowing that the next brother next to you, he's in need of those certain things, but he can't purchase those things. Or like the class is geared towards charity, loving thy neighbor abroad. Some of our people that live in other countries that they can't even fathom, or they don't even think about purchasing those things. It's not even in their daily thoughts, right? So read that again.
Let all your things be done with charity.
Mm-hmm. Everything should be done with charity. It says, let all your things be done with charity. So when it comes to one another, we should have extreme charity. Everything that we do for one another or amongst each other, there should always be charity done amongst us, right? Go to the term to take for granted. The term to take for granted. Now, this is something that we do a lot here, and I see it a lot myself. Big time, right? Let's look at this.
To take for granted. Fail to properly appreciate someone or something, especially as a result of overfamiliarity.
So to fail to appreciate someone or something, right? Let's talk about the something, It says, especially as a result of overfamiliarity. So, to have an overfamiliarity of something, you lack the appreciation of it. If you have an overabundance of something, you're going to lack the appreciation of it, right? For example, I'll give this example, and this is really where it stemmed from for me. How many of y'all know about what is a junk drawer? Everybody in their house has a junk drawer, maybe one or two. That's that last drawer that's way in the kitchen, or in your what's it called, dining area. You have that last drawer that you don't even know. If you could stop thinking right now, what's in that drawer? You probably don't even know everything that's in that drawer. Every one of us have one of those junk drawers, right? So what I did was I thought about that because I was looking for, I think it was batteries, and I couldn't find the batteries, and I opened that junk drawer, and there was more than just a couple batteries in there. Like, and some of the things are the things that a lot of things we take for granted, right? Like basic things like pencils, right? Mechanical pencil, pens, papers. I had sticky notes in there, the batteries, paper clip. These different things that we have here, a dime a dozen of them. These are things that our brothers and sisters don't have, in other things. These are a lot of things that we take for granted, right? Look up the term diaspora. So as we know, as leadership goes abroad, traveling from country to country throughout the scattered and the diaspora, that's why I wanted to read this. Read that.
Diaspora, to scatter about.
Mm-hmm.
The term diaspora comes from an ancient Greek word meaning to scatter about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what the people of a diaspora do. They scatter from their homeland to places across the globe.
Now, right here it says the people do it, right? That they scatter from their homeland as if they did it themselves. Well, we know by reading the scriptures and by history and by text that this was, of course, for our disobedience, but this was done to us, right? We were scattered for a purpose, right? Read.
Spreading their culture as they go.
Right. Okay, so go to, let's go to James 1. James 1.
The book of James, chapter 1, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ,
Mm-hmm.
to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings.
So now I chose this to show because the class is called Charity Loving Thy Neighbor Abroad, right? And here in the first book of James, in the book of James, chapter 1, he says to the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad, right? So the class is geared on those who are scattered abroad and the charity of those who are well off, right? To examine one another, right? Go to Isaiah 11.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria.
From where?
Assyria.
So now, here in a second, we're going to watch some videos. And now, Assyria, you have a modern day Turkey, right? You're going to show, the videos are going to show that this is where leadership has been going. These are the places that our people scattered abroad have been. Keep reading.
And from Egypt,
mm-hmm.
and from Pathros,
right?
And from Cush.
Cush, you have Ethiopia, you have Sudan, read.
And from Elam.
Right, you have certain portions of Iran, India, Pakistan, all these different places, read.
And from Shinar,
mm-hmm.
and from Hamath,
right?
And from the islands of the sea.
So, and even throughout all the islands of the sea, as you see the various quests that leadership go on to push the gospel, to bring the people of the Lord back to their remembrance, right? The charity that leadership shows, right? So you have these different places like Syria, you have these different places like Iraq, right? Look up the term, let me see one second. Go to the term world country real quick. Let's look at that real quick, and then I want to show some of these videos. Let's see. Read that term.
The term third world country refers to countries with high poverty rates.
With high poverty rates, right?
Economic instability.
Right. They're unstable when it comes to economics, right?
And a lack of basic human necessities.
A lack of basic human necessities. These basic human necessities are necessities that we're born here with an abundance of. A basic human necessities: food, water. These are things that we don't have to the typical Black, Hispanic, and Native American family, we don't really have to worry too much on a scale that on the level that they do, we don't, right? We don't have to think about, well, where's my next meal coming from? How am I going to get water, right? The things so for example, we may think that we are on this scale when it comes to lack of basic human necessities, like, oh, well, I'm going through it and we going through it, and I don't know where my next water or my meals. But we have the liberties and the freedoms to wake up in the middle of the night, barely being able to see, walk over, hit that faucet and water comes out. Turn that switch and light comes on. Not worry about freezing because you have the heat running. These are different things that we take for granted that most of our people don't have. Most of our people are lacking, like it says in a third world country, it says and lack of basic human necessities, right? So the little things like a pencil, a pen, paper to take notes, Bibles so that they can study and understand who they really are. These are things that we have in abundance. Most of us have 3, 4, 5, 6 of these right here, right? When you really only ever use one, 5, 10, 15 years into the truth, right? So maybe 2, but we have an abundance of the things, right? Read that one more time.
The term third world country refers to countries with high poverty rates, economic instability, a lack of basic human necessities. These countries often have fewer natural resources than other nations.
Right. Let's scroll down. Let's see some of these countries.
Examples of third world countries: Afghanistan,
Angola,
Benin, Burundi, Central African Republic.
Read. Keep going.
Democratic Republic of Congo.
Right. So you're hearing some of these countries, and leadership has traveled to some of these countries and continue to travel. Read.
Ethiopia.
Right. Kush. Read.
Chad.
Right. So these are just some of them. These are just some countries. And there's remember, the scripture reads that we have been scattered abroad, scattered all over the world to the 4 corners of the earth. So these are some of the third world countries, right? So these are countries that are economically struggle. These are that they lack basic human needs, right? These are things that we don't struggle with here. You might get a basic job at McDonald's getting paid $10 an hour or whatever minimum wage is now, maybe 7, 9, 10, right? And at the end of the week, you get paid $5 to $6 to $7 to $800. Well, some of that is a year or 2 salary for some of our people in other countries, right? So basic things like a pencil, a pen, notebook, different things like that, boots, cargo pants, beautiful dress. These different things like that are not on the minds of how do I get, you know what I mean, for our people, right? Go down to, you read some of those all the way down? That was the last one? Okay, all praises. All right, go to some of the videos. Because we see leadership traveling throughout the diaspora, teaching on teaching and waking up the Lord's people, right? Bringing them back to the knowledge and remembrance that they are the chosen people. They are the Israelites. So we see different things. And I want to point out a couple things here. As we see this, play it. Isaiah 11. So you see Keep going. Stop right there. You see how many people are all around? Keep playing. Take note of how many, look how many people are all around as they travel. Look at that. Stop right there. There's hundreds of people there. Just in this shot right here, there's probably like 50, 70, 60, 80 people right here. And that's just not even panning around. I'm sure once it pans around, you see all the way around the Lord's prophets that there's so many people there. Right? This is the hunger for the word. This is the charity the leadership shows, right? They're going out to different countries because this is what we called to do, right? Keep reading. Keep playing it.
Children of Israel, whose names are on the gates to the kingdom of heaven? The children of Israel. Are they teaching you that you're part of the children?
So you see how many people, look how many people. And the thirst to continue, and leadership is mentioned before. That when they stop, they've been there all day at camp, teaching the people, passing out thousands and thousands of flyers, right? And the people don't want them to go. The people are starving for the word. Starving for the word. Finish this one out.
Israel? No. These guys have been doing nothing but teaching lies.
And see it, and the crazy thing here is that it doesn't matter where you go here in this first world country, you don't see that at all. It doesn't matter. Even when our people gather together, hundreds and thousands of our people gathering together for Mardi Gras or for the World Series or whatever it is, the football game that just passed, right? It doesn't matter what we gather for. If we set up camps, there's not thousands and hundreds of people like that. You got a couple people, few here scattered. You may have 10 or 20 people at the most, right? But we are not at the level like that yet, our people here. So like I mentioned before, we may think we're being oppressed as a people and stuff like that here, but it's not yet as how it is for our brothers and sisters abroad, right? Go to Luke chapter 4. Luke chapter 4 and then verse 4. Because it's important that we understand the complacency and the lack of what we do is take things for granted here, right? Luke chapter 4, verse 4.
The book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 4.
Or you could start with verse 1.
Verse 1. And Jesus, being full of the Holy Ghost, returned from Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness,
right,
being 40 days tempted of the devil, and in those days he did not eat nothing. He did eat nothing. Mm-hmm. And when they were ended, he afterward hungered.
So this is when Christ was fasting. He fasted 40 days and was being tempted by Satan, right? Read.
And the devil said unto him, if thou be the Son of God, command this stone that it be made bread.
Right, because if he's the Son of God, he got all power, right? Then read.
And Jesus answered him, saying, it is written that man shall not live by bread alone, mm-hmm, but by every word of God.
Right, and so you read that in the Old Testament, right? Man should not live by solely bread alone, but by every word of God. So that's what I see. I see this right here whenever I watch those videos, when I see the videos of hundreds of people, of our people, listening to the word, because the Lord says his sheep hear his voice. So when leadership is out at all these different various countries and islands of the sea, and they're teaching the gospel and bringing the remembrance back to the people, they're hungry, literally hungry for that word. But here in Western civilization, where we have things perfectly good, where we understand where our next meal and next everything that we need comes from, we don't gather around like that. We don't gather around like that. So there's a level of taking things for granted here because we see it all the time, right? Every day of the week, you see classes coming out. Every day of the week, you see brothers on the street corners yelling on the top of their lungs, right? So we have gotten, the people today have gotten so used to it, right, that it becomes normal to them. So then now they take for granted. It's taken for granted, right? Go to the quote, Shada Shakur quote. This leadership just pulled up maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe a few. Read that right there. I like this. I really like this, and I thought about this when I was writing this class.
People get used to anything. Mm-hmm. The less you think about your oppression, the more your tolerance for it grows.
So we literally get used to anything. You could literally get used to anything. And this is our people is what I'm talking about. Talking about here in the first world, in these first world countries. We literally get used to anything, right? If we have it all the time, it's minor to us. Books, pencils, paper, and I harp on those things because those are a lot of things that our people abroad don't have. Just to take notes, just to write in the Bible, to take notes, right? These are things that we get used to having, right? Read.
After a while, people just think oppression is the normal state of things.
Mm-hmm.
But to become free, you have to be acutely aware of being a slave.
So read that second portion right there, after a while.
After a while, people just think oppression is their normal state of things.
So now, I'm using this, right, because she's talking about oppression and the slave mindset that our people have. But I'm using this also as things that we take for granted of because we get used to it. Just like this, just like what she's saying. After a while, people just think oppression is a normal way of life. So we think that the things that we have now and the freedoms we have, it's just normal because we haven't been shown anything. We have literally been swaddled and coddled, if that's the word, right? Coddled by Babylon. Everything has been literally at our fingertips. Every single thing. You don't even have to leave your home to purchase these things. You can stay at home, work from home, stay at home, purchase things online, get brought to your door, even cooked already, right? So we have literally gotten used to anything, right? So I like this. I love that leadership showed this. This right here is powerful, right? Because the normal Black and Hispanic person, we don't think about this stuff. We don't think about this stuff, right? We don't think about that our people, it's not so over there. They're not thinking, oh, well, this is, they're not taking things for granted is what I mean, right? Go to the Dollar Tree. And I want to pull this up because there's the things that we have accessible here in Babylon and most of the first world countries, second world countries, right? These are not things that our people abroad have readily available. They can't just go on their phone and say, hey, well, most, right? They can't go on the phone and say, hey, I'm going to order this real quick and just get it sent to my house, things like that, right? So go to this Dollar Tree. And I use Dollar Tree, for example, because a lot of the things at Dollar Tree, they're very cheap, extremely affordable, and they come in quantities in abundance, right? And a lot of things we'll look up. All right, pencils, right? Scroll down. Go to those ones right there on the right. 16-pack, assorted, printed. Okay, these are printed with some idolatry on them, but nevertheless, there are a pencil, right, to write your notes with, right? 16-pack for $1.25, right? Go out of that one. Let's look for something without dang rabbits on it. Okay, go down. Mechanical pencils, which a lot of us here use, right? It's easier. You don't need a sharpener or anything like that. But you have right there 5-pack for $1.25, right? Right there where it says Jock Classic yellow pencils. Click on that one. So right here you have yellow number 2 pencils, a 24 count for $1, for $1.25. So $1.25, right? $60 if you want to get a pack, 48 packs, right? So just a pencil, how easily accessible it is for us. And 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, everyone is within a few miles from a Dollar Tree, right? Let's go to pens. And it's going to be, 9 out of 10 is going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing. So I'm showing this to show that these are the things that are readily available to us that we literally take for granted. And I seen that extreme because when I was looking for a battery for the remote, I looked into the junk drawer and I'm like, yo, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I have that I didn't even know I had. And it's still sitting there. It's still sitting there. You know what I mean? Because that our mindset has been bred that way, right? Right there you have a 5 count for $1.25. Go down. Right there, look, there's a 12 pack for $1.25. So same thing, right? Now this is pencils, right? Go up and go to Bibles. Does the Dollar Tree sell Bibles? Look at that. The Holy Bible right there. KJV Bible. Right in the middle. Click on the middle one. Right there. This is the King James Holy Bible. This is the KJV Bible. $1.25 each. Right now it's unavailable, but $1.25. These are at my local Dollar Tree. I've purchased about 40 or 50 of them to send off, right? So this is the word of the Lord right here that most of our people probably don't have readily available. They can't just say, okay, well, now I just learned the truth because leadership went out and showed them the truth. They're sitting there for hours day in, day out, right? For a month or 2, sometimes 3, right? Or more. And brother or sister learns the truth, but then now they're in need of a Bible so that they can continue to learn and to grow in spirit, right? All right, you can get out of that. So I wanted to show that to show that a lot of things are readily available to us. Extremely easy for us here and not in other countries abroad, right? Like when you go back to the third world countries, right? Go back to that third world countries. Go up. Read that one more time.
The term third world country refers to countries with high poverty rates, economic instability, and a lack of basic human necessities.
So that's other basic human necessities, right? I'm sure pencils, but these are things that's probably not on their mind, right? Pencils, pens, Bibles, you know what I mean? Different things like this. These are the things to build up the spirit or to encourage a brother or sister for us to have charity to send these different things, right? Go to Leviticus chapter 23. So there were things that were put in play so that our people didn't lack. Our people weren't in need. They understood knew that when we were in our own, we had our own, we took care of our own, right? But today, it's a different beast. Today's a different beast. We have that crabs in a barrel spirit that's been bred into us through slavery, through the different oppressions that we've gone through. We don't want to see the next man do better. We don't want to see if I'm doing better, that next man don't want to see me get out of the slums and do better, right? That's the mentality that we have, right? Read Leviticus, one second. Leviticus chapter 23 and 22.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 22.
Mm-hmm.
And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clear riddance of the corners of the field when thou reapest.
Right. So this right here, as you read down or read up, this is during the time, the Feast of First Fruits, Feast of Pentecost, right? So when you're reaping, right, when you're gathering the harvest off your land, there was certain laws put in place, right? Why is that? Read.
Neither shalt thou gather any gleanings of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor.
Unto who?
Unto the poor.
So amongst our people, we had some that were in need, but there were laws put in place so that they didn't go without. But today, that's not the charity that we have in ourselves. That's not the charity that the regular Black and Hispanic Native American man has. We don't have and think about the next man. We may understand I might go buy something and I'm like, oh, well, you know, it's on sale. I can get 52 of them instead of 3 that I needed. And then whenever I do need it later on, instead of thinking, well, let me see who else needs some. Because if it's on sale right now, all I got to pay is this much and I get a lot more in abundance. Let me see who else needs some, right? We don't think in that charitable way. We think about me, and not us as a nation. Like I mentioned before, we should know, as repented, we should know what about charity more and what it means to rebuild more than the regular man walking the streets, right? Read that one time.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 22. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field.
Right.
When thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and unto the stranger. I am the Lord your God.
Right. So we should leave that portion for our people that are in need. Right? So there was laws put in place. Go to chapter 19. Chapter 19.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 9. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field.
Right.
Neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou glean every grape of thy vineyard.
Right.
Thou shalt leave them for the poor and stranger. I am the Lord your God.
Right. So these different things are set in place so that we were okay. So we didn't need. So if I was in need, I knew that I had somewhere to eat. I didn't have to worry about where my next meal was. I shouldn't have to worry about that. When you are nation building and your mindset is on charity, these are the things that you think of. Well, I'm growing such and such. I got well more than what my family needs. Let me go ahead and put it for this person. Let me go ahead and put it for this person. Even in times when you read, when we were gathering the lamb for Passover, you only took as much as what your family need. You didn't say, well, I'm on some extra, I'm on seconds and thirds. No, you took as much as what your family needed. And then you gave the rest to this man or 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 or 3 families gather. And they say, we're going to get one because between us all, we can eat all, right? So there's always laws. There was things put in place because the Lord understands his people, right? So we are charged. We are the ones charged with taking care of the people, making sure that everybody is doesn't lack, right? That doesn't lack, right? Go to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 13 and verse 5. This right here, we have to examine to see whether we have the spirit of charity. You know, read that, matter of fact, read that.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves? So
we have to in everyday life, we have to examine whether we are in the faith, whether we are that charitable person, to see if we have the qualities of charity. If we fall under that, I'm going to make sure that, you know, this person lacks without that person. Now, I'm not saying, you know, every time you go out, just make sure that you call your brother and be like, hey, did y'all eat this, that? You know what I mean? Because then that builds that complacency in that person. But what I'm saying is, when you have an abundance and you don't need an abundance, that's where that spirit of charity should have come in, right? So we have to examine ourselves to see whether we have these qualities of charity or if we don't have those qualities and what we need to do to change that thing, right? Go to 1 Corinthians 13. 1 Corinthians 13 and start at 4. Let's see some of these qualities.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 4.
These are the qualities we have to examine ourselves by, right? When it comes to charity. Read.
Charity suffereth long and is kind.
Right.
Charity envieth
Now, it
not.
starts off by telling you it's kind. That's the first thing. A lot of us rude as hell to one another, right? But it is kind. Read.
Charity envieth not.
So you're not going to envy what someone else wants, right? You don't get that envious spirit in you if this person has and has an abundance and you don't, and they have charity. You're not going to get that envious spirit in you. You're not going to be like, well, hey man, he got like 30 of them things, man. I want that thing. I'm gonna do, because then that starts that evil spirit where now all of a sudden you want to have sticky fingers. You know what I mean, right? So read it again.
Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not.
Right.
Charity vaunteth not itself.
Now I'm not going to boast on what I have. If I got 1,000, I'm not going to boast about, it vaunteth not, right? I'm going to freely give, right? Just like the word is supposed to be freely given, and how leadership sets examples of how they freely feed us with the word of the Lord, right? Read.
Is not puffed up.
It's not puffed up.
Does not does not behave itself unseemingly. Seeketh not her own. Is not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil. Rejoice not in iniquity.
So rejoice not in iniquity. Read.
But rejoice in the truth.
Right. So we have to have that spirit of charity in this truth. So that way you don't have that that iniquity spirit or that mindset to commit some type of iniquity. If we all give in to one another, if this person is in need, if that person's in need, and this person has and that person has it, that's where that charitable spirit comes. So now we're not thinking, we're not having that envious spirit. We're not having that that boasting spirit, right? The different spirits that it showed, and charity is not, right? So as we examine one another and examine ourselves to say, do I have these qualities? So that way we don't work any evil amongst each other, right? Go to read, let me see. Go to Hebrews chapter 13, or Hebrews chapter 3. Hebrews 3 and verse 12. So these are different qualities of charity, and that what we have to examine ourselves to see if we have those qualities of charity, right? Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 12.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 3, verse 12. Take heed, brethren, lest there be any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God.
Right, read.
But exhort one another daily.
But do what?
Exhort one another daily.
So how do we exhort one another daily? Read.
While it is called today.
So how do we exhort one another? The way we exhort one another daily, of course, as being around each other, right? But some of our brothers and sisters abroad, how do we exhort them? How do we exhort them? Because leadership can't be there 24/7, 365, forever, right? But maybe a way to exhort somebody, like, for example, every one of us love gifts, right? When you get a gift from somebody, like Parim just passed, when you catch that gift, you're like, oh man, it kind of boosts your spirit. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, this brother was thinking about me. All praise, this sister was thinking about our family and this, that, and the third, right? So those are ways to exhort and to boost yourself, right? So what better way to exhort and boost yourself when you send or you donate, right? Like leadership's always pointing down at the corner where the QR code is. when you donate, when you send certain things, when you send just one pack of pencils or send a couple dozen Bibles, those are the things that will boost and exhort the spirit of somebody that's looking and that's hungry for the word, like those thousands of people that are surrounded by leadership and don't want them to stop, right? Pull up that term exhort. See what exhort means. To exhort someone. What does exhort mean?
Exhort, verb, as in to urge,
Mm-hmm.
to try to persuade someone through earnest appeals to follow a course of action.
Okay, go down. Synonyms. Right, go to encourage. Click on that one. Here we go.
Encourage, as in to inspire,
To inspire, right?
to fill with courage or strength of purpose.
So to fill with courage and strength of purpose. When you put this in the hands of our people that lack, that don't have, there's nothing but encouraging and strength in here. You find out that you actually have a purpose and that you actually have brothers and sisters that care about you and have the charity to send you something like this. This is what more to encourage you than the Bible? What more to inspire you and to fill you with courage and strength of purpose than the Bible? Because before, I guarantee you, before they heard the word, when leadership went over, right? Before they heard the word, or before one of us heard the word here, we weren't encouraged. We had no strength of purpose of anything. We thought we would no one. We thought this was, remember, we, like our sister Ashata Shakur said, we were, put that back up. I don't want to butcher it. So we got complacent and used to it. Read it again.
People get used to anything.
Mm-hmm.
The less you think about your oppression, the more tolerance for it grows.
Right.
After a while, people just think oppression is the normal state of things.
So we thought that this was the normal state of us being before we heard it. I know that's how I was before I heard this word. Before I seen the purple and gold on the street corners, and I was like, dang, that Bible is extremely encouraging. I'm in there. There's a sense of purpose for me. Go back to the other one. Encourage. Read that again.
Encourage, as in to inspire,
Mm-hmm.
to fill with courage or strength of purpose.
So this just sending over, and remember, they only $1 to send over the word that is actually written for our people, for us, to us, by us. That's extreme encouraging to give you the strength of purpose. That way you know that what you're going through and the things that they go through is written. And there's a purpose why we're going through it. And it gives us a purpose and encouragement to continue, right? Then not even just the Bible. I mean, you have, like I keep mentioning, pencils, pens, fringes. You know what I mean? Fringes are needed, right? Beautiful dresses, head wraps. These are different things that will encourage and boost and inspire the spirits, right? All right, so let me give you some examples. I want to give some examples in the scriptures. Go to the book of Acts, chapter. So we have to examine to see whether this is the qualities that we have. Because at the end of the day, that's what we need. Remember, the scripture said, if you have all the precepts, if you have all this knowledge, and you have all, but if you don't have charity, all that means nothing. Acts 5. Acts 4. Acts 4 and start at 32.
The book of Acts, chapter 4, verse 32.
Mm-hmm.
And the multitude of them that believed were of one heart
Mm-hmm.
and of one soul.
Read.
Neither said any of them that aught of the things which he possessed was his own,
Right.
but they had all things in common.
So the multitude of people that came in, the prophets are out doing the work. The multitude of people that came in, it says that they had, read that last part right there. Said any of them that all of the things which he possessed was his own. So none of the things that, say, for example, you have all the things that we possess, and nothing was actually, hey, that's mine. Hey, no, that's mine. You can't have this. That wasn't the mindset of the people here. Read verse 33.
And with great power gave the apostles witness of the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and gave grace was, and great grace was upon them all.
Verse 34.
Neither was there any among them that lacked.
Neither was there what?
Any among them that lacked.
So everything that was gathered in, right? Because in order for you to say, hey, I got 10 of these, let me go bring it, you got to have some level of charity. You got to understand that I have more, I have an abundance, but my people don't. So that's a level of charity that they had to have, right? So no one lacked them out. Read that again.
Neither was there any among them that lacked. For as many as were possessors of land or houses sold them and brought the price of the things that were sold and laid them down at the apostles' feet. And distribution was made unto every man according to as he had need.
So distribution was gave. So everybody, whether they had land, houses, these different things that they had an abundance of, right? If I got 100 acres and I really only need 2 to have my cattle or whatever I had, right? Well, there's 98 acres that I really don't need. So I either I either sell it for funds and I bring it, or I get it subdivided, or however it is, right? So it says that they brought it to the apostles' feet, and the apostles distribute them to the people as they saw if they had need, right? So I go here to show that there's many examples in the scriptures to show actual charity. Now, you had to have some type of charity or some level of examination to say, I really don't need this much. I have this much, but my people do need this much, right? You have to, so we have to constantly examine ourselves, right? I want to go to Matthew's and show how the Lord, of course, is the exact same way. Apostles follow after the Lord. And not only did the Lord give his life, but he shows examples of how he fed the people, right? Matthew's chapter 14. Is that right? Go to Matthew's 14 and 13.
The book of Matthew, chapter 14, verse 13. When Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities.
Right. So this is an abundance, great multitude of people who followed Christ. Read.
And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion toward them.
Now, compassion. Let's look that up real quick. Because the Lord had compassion on this multitude of people. Now, all you're going to notice that all these words, compassion, charity, right? All right, let's see what it says here. Compassion.
Sympathetic, pity, and concern for the sufferings and misfortunes of others.
See that? Sympathetic and pity, concerns for the suffering or the misfortunes of others. Concern for what others don't have, right? That you do have. You'll notice that all these words lean to charity. Charity, loving thy neighbor abroad. Because we have everything here. Everything's at our fingertips, right? Go back to Matthew's.
The book of Matthew, chapter 14, verse 14. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion toward them. And he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals.
So now he's telling them, the disciples are saying, let them go so that they can purchase food and things like that, right? But what did Christ say? Read.
But Jesus said unto them, they need not depart.
They don't need to go anywhere. Read.
Give ye them to eat.
We gonna feed them. Read.
And they say unto him, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes.
Right.
He said, bring them hither to me.
Bring me those 2 fishes and bring me them 5 loaves, right?
And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude.
So he broke bread and gave the loaves to the disciples to distribute, right? Read verse 20.
And they did all eat and were filled.
Mm-hmm.
And they took up the fragments of the remained 12 baskets full.
So everyone ate. Remember, it says it was a great multitude of people. He told them to sit down, and everyone ate. The Lord had compassion on us. The Lord had compassion on us. This is the things that we have to have on one another, that charity for one another. Read the next verse.
And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men.
5,000 men.
Beside women and children.
So there was 5,000 plus people that actually ate and were good because the Lord had compassion, right? Right. So these are the things that we have to have. This is the same mentality that we have to have here in Babylon the Great, which we have an abundance of, and everything's at our fingertips. Everything is within a distance. If you live in big cities, everything's right down the street. There's a corner store, there's a bodega everywhere. These are the things that our people don't have abroad. It's not like that abroad, right? So I was going to give a clip of a movie, but I couldn't find a clip. It's a movie called Red Sea Diving Resort, but I couldn't find a clip. I had watched it a while ago, but if you do watch the movie, of course it's geared upon, this is it right here. So it's geared upon Amalek helping refugees in Ethiopia, right? But I wanted to talk about how I couldn't find it, but how the brother here, he's an Ethiopian refugee, and the mindset that he has, I wish I could have found it, but the mindset that he has when you watch this movie is literal love for his people, compassion, charity. Doesn't matter how much he has and how little he has, he makes sure everybody else has. So that's the mindset that we have to be on. Lord's will, when y'all get a chance, watch that movie. It's a pretty decent movie. Of course, it's based off Amalek, and I don't know what the ulterior motive it was for them bringing, because they call them the Ethiopians, they call them the Jews, right? But Amalek. Amalek always has an ulterior motive to everything. But this was actual true story, right? Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6. 1 Timothy chapter 6. 1 Timothy 6, start at verse 17.
The book of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17.
Uh-huh.
Charge them that are rich in this world.
So the Lord is saying, the Bible is saying, charge those that are rich in this world. Read.
That they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches.
So that they be not high-minded. Because there's some of us that are extremely wealthy. And now that doesn't necessarily mean that, I'm not necessarily saying that just funds and finances. I mean, you wealthy with, like the scripture showed, those that had an abundance of land, that made them wealthy. Those that have abundance of cattle, that made them wealthy, right? There's some of us in this world that are the same way, that we not trust in these uncertain riches, right? Hold that. Go to 1 Samuel's. Hold that, though. Go to 1 Samuel's, because this is why we shouldn't trust in these certain riches, right? 1 Samuel's. Oh, man, Judges, Samuel's. chapter 2, in verse 7.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 2, verse 7. The Lord maketh poor and maketh rich.
So we shouldn't trust in these certain riches because the Lord is the one that gave it to us. So if you lean more on that, remember the scriptures say in Matthew 6, you can't have two gods, right? So the Lord is who gave you this, gave you that certain wealth, that whether it was thousands of acres that you inherited, whether it was this, that, or the third, it doesn't matter, right? That Lord is the one who ultimately he blessed you with that, right? Jump back to Timothy. Read that again.
The book of 1 Timothy, chapter 6, verse 17. Charge them that are rich in this world,
right,
that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches.
So we shouldn't, if you don't lack, you shouldn't trust in that. Don't put your trust 100% in that, because the Lord can pull that right. Remember, he said he makes poor and he makes rich. So just like that, he can just make, same thing. Read.
But in the living God.
But in what?
In the living God.
That's what those who are lacking without should trust in. Read.
Who giveth us richly all things to enjoy.
So all things that we're given was given by the Lord. So if we were given an abundance, it was so that we can examine and say, we need to see if we have those charitable qualities, right? Because like the scripture we read, our people should not have lack. There should be no lack amongst Israel. There should be none that go hungry amongst us. None that lack without, especially not lack in the word, right? Read.
That they do good, that they be rich in good works.
Right.
Ready to distribute.
Ready to do what?
Ready to distribute.
Obviously, you should be ready to distribute because you have an abundance, right? So some of us that do have an abundance, this is the qualities, this is the charitable qualities right here. Read.
Willing to communicate.
Right. So we should have that mindset here, because according to us, a lot of us here in Babylon the Great, a lot of us are what quote unquote impoverished, right? But we have more of an abundance than what we know. Like I mentioned, the junk drawer. I'm not wealthy or super rich, but I got a junk drawer. There's things in there I didn't even know about. But those are things that our people lack. Like these certain little things that I keep mentioning, pencils, paper. These little things, these are small, minute things that our people lack, right? Go to the book of Sirach. The book of Sirach, chapter 33. 33 and 17.
The book of Sirach, chapter 33, verse 17. Consider that I labor not for myself only.
So that's the consideration that we have to have. The things that I do, don't consider that I labor for myself only. Read.
But for all them that seek learning.
So what we do is sometimes we do that extra labors, whether it's in the world or whether it's at work or whether, you know what I mean? So what we got to consider is that maybe I'm going to take this extra so that I can send this extra. So we have to consider, read it again.
Consider that I labor not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning.
So for all them that seek this Bible and seek the truth and seek the learning of who they are, like the hundreds of people that you see in the videos that we show, with leadership going throughout the diaspora and throughout the islands of the sea, all those people, that's who we should consider, that the things that we do here, that we are given freely half the times, that we're given at liberty and that we have readily accessible to ourselves, we should consider that the things that we have and that we do here, labor, should be not for our own selves, but should be to help those abroad, right? So Israel, Lord's will that you glean something from the class. Once again, it's called Charity, Loving Thy Neighbor Abroad. And Lord's will, we examine one another. We examine ourselves to see that if we do have these charitable qualities. All right, with that, we say shalom.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word, his word.